This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it, baby. Let's get to it! Story number 1. Grant set for Trumbull Prosecutor's Office. $495,150 grant will be awarded to the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office for the Violent Crime Reduction Grant Program. The money comes from the American Rescue Plan funds and will be given to agencies for retention bonuses and to continue ongoing public safety services to prevent and investigate violent crime. 15 agencies are set to receive the grant. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Historical Society in Trumbull County wins $250,000 grant. The money is pouring out. The aim is to digitize. That is why the Trumbull County Historical Society will receive nearly $250,000 of a 3-year period. In a 3-year period to digitize some of the larger items in its archives. So they'll get this money in a 3-year period, probably in increments. The local article goes on to explain details about the federal grant program, where it comes from, and how it will drastically change how TCHS operates while being able to scan anything to its archives that is larger than 11 inches by 17 inches. Now, for a cost of $50,000, the new scanners will be able to digitize more than 2,000 oversized archives. That's pretty big for the Historical Society. But Trumbull County, big headline. That's what story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Show me the money. AT&T will invest in local digital literacy. 20,000 is the number set to go to an area nonprofit from AT&T. The Oak Hill Collaborative Group will provide computer education classes and workshops for students, unemployed or underemployed adults and seniors. So all these people wrapped up into one big ball of learning. The nonprofit's mission is to improve digital literacy in the valley, which could be needed for the future. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Education is big, and anybody giving money away to improve education is big as well. Big headline. Story number 4. How do Lordstown residents feel about business activity? A Leavittsburg woman has filed a class action federal lawsuit against the owners of the Lafarge landfill in Lordstown. This story could draw media attention on how residents feel about the recent business growth in Lordstown. That's what the story could do. This is not the only story that has been in local headlines addressing residential concerns in Lordstown. Some stories have drawn concerns about flooding, land contracts, and expansions, while most recent stories like this one focuses on pollution. If these stories will solve anything is what has them trending. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. New waterline contract in Girard. Girard Council awarded J.S. Bova Excavating LLC of Struthers the Trumbull Avenue water main replacement project. Now, according to a local Vindicator article, the cost will not exceed $864,862. So that's what they said it won't exceed. Now, according to Girard 4th Ward Councilman Thomas Grumley, water pressure issues have plagued the Trumbull Avenue area for a while. Story number 6. Electric cars is just one of Lordstown's new ventures. They have more. Foxconn has announced that electric cars at the Lordstown motor plant is not the company's only ambition. The company also plans to produce agriculture equipment at its massive Lordstown facility. There was an article showing they have electric tractors and all types of stuff. So that expands on the ideas of the potential that Foxconn and Lordstown Motors and all those people out in that facility could do. So that's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week, because it gives investors and people more ideas. And that's why story number 6 is so important. That's why it made it in, because the idea of not only just electric cars, but other useful electric vehicles is a plus, and that's what investors look for when they want to spend and gain, because you don't know which one of those products could be a lottery ticket. Big hit. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Psst, psst. Woo, that's hot. That's why I said it top 2. Story number 7, chill can story hanging in the headlines. MJ Joseph Development Company must repay at least $1.5 million in water and wastewater funds that Youngstown granted to the company to build its chill can plant in Youngstown on the city's east side. That's the latest news coming out. The article points out a serious breach of contract, seeing that there has been no progress or activity at the facility. There were some jobs that were supposed to come out of this progress. Every detail in the deal between Youngstown and the chill can plant is being laid out and presented to the public, revealing how the city relied heavily on the chill can plant to deliver, but it didn't. And that's what the story. That's what got the story in top 2 this week, because this story is still in the headlines. These stories are still developing after some heated exchanges in the courtroom, according to a local article. That's why story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. Big hit. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. Graduate programs grow at YSU. Less resistance to enroll is one factor, Sal Sanders, YSU's Dean of Graduate Studies, cites for the uptick in enrollment for graduate programs. Efforts to increase student retention is also playing a factor. These seem to be the reasons that YSU has seen a 12% increase in graduate program enrollments this fall compared to the same time last year. Now, streamlining, optimizing, revising recommendation letters, reducing the out-of-state surcharge from $250 per credit hour to $5, and minimizing admission requirements for YSU's more than 55 graduate programs could also be a factor. That's a lot of changes, and they're starting to see some progress. Now, the article goes on to promote the benefits of YSU's online program also, and how it has been able to attract international students. YSU, like many colleges, has been working very, very hard to build rather than tear down, especially with this growing age of anti-college and more pro-money and pro-work, pro-ambitious, pro-entrepreneur spirit. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week, because where there is education and growth and graduation, there's an investment into oneself for the future, but the potential to pay for that college is what has these stories trending. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Check out Lady Perez this week on our internet podcast, internet show. She will be talking about her newest film, Penny and the Willow Tree, where I also play in that film. August 14th at 6 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Boardman. She is a local talent, and she will be on display. I want to thank you, and just check her out this week. Thank you. I'm going to get back to the show, but check her out this week on our Listen and Learn segment. Lady Perez, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week, folks. Everybody is talking about sex, so I'll tell you the story. One time when I was on active duty in the military, in the Navy, some of the guys, they said, "Brian, we're going to surprise you." And everybody's somehow getting involved with stripping. And I went down to Atlanta, and my uncles and them were telling me about some of the strip clubs they've got down there. This is rated R stuff, but I'm going to keep it as PG as possible. Because I was telling my uncle, I said I had never, ever actually been inside of an actual strip joint, but I was surprised one time, and I went in, and one of the girls came over and touched me, and I couldn't believe it. You know, we rolling on the ground fighting, and makeup everywhere, wigs flying everywhere, and that was the last time I'd ever been introduced to a strip club. But what I've come to find out is that the jiggling, the Julu, and the boo shake it, is a step up from normality. People spending big money in these places. From what I've been hearing, people, big time stars, going there and give money to jiggling Jews, jiggling girls of all races, creed, colors. Shame on some people, but I was investing my time into this discussion for a reason. Because I've been trying to practice the state of self-control in this unself-controlled environment. Everybody's getting blessed except me. So the reason in the process of this story is that some of these girls even have to take off their clothes to pay for school in capitalism in America. Ooh, shame. Ooh. I don't know what I'm going to tell my religious scholars after this program, but I will tell them this, is that after the discussion, we all took hands and we vowed that whoever was to go in to another juke joint like this would be spying instead of engaging activity. And I didn't volunteer, but the others volunteered. So I will be taking notes and seeing who actually gets the footage and what is actually going on in these places. Now, the moral of the story is to get you to understand that there's another side of America, a sexual beast that has been unleashed, and everybody is talking about it, but nobody knows what to do about it. There are people spreading their legs, jiggling, doing the booty do for a little bit of not a little bit of cash, a lot of cash from a lot of big high rollers out there. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm some type of a preacher, but somebody has got to save the world. And if the girls don't want to be saved, maybe we need to educate them and give them the resources that they need to not only stop the booty shaking, but start the booty booking. I've got a new program out. It's called Booty Booking. For all girls in the booty business to grab a book, and the weight of the booty is the weight of an education. Sounds sickening, but isn't it sick to go in and see one of your favorite girls every week that you can't go home with, you can't touch at night, you can only see her at a bar shaking it up, and you're giving her money, and there's nothing ever coming out of it but a shake and a little stimulation. How sad is that? It can only be addressed in mediation, because the booty is in the Bible, and the booty is not what people look for, but it causes war because people yearn it, baby. The booty. And that's what this story is all about, folks. So let's waste no time. Let's get to the real deal stories. It's hard talking about things that have been going on for so long, but nobody knows what to do about it. The booty is a discussion for today, folks, because there's a lot of nasty stories in this week's top 6. So let's get to it, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1, the prison system. Back in the headlines, talking about rated R. The booty! The other side of the booty. Ooh, that's scary. The Arizona prison system is making some headlines that could be catching those who have experienced the American prison fog, the American prison system. It could be sparking a new conversation. Now it's about labor and what prisoners have made over the years that you could be consuming. For years, prisoners have complained about the obstacles that many prisoners have failed to overcome, like selling drugs when they get out or getting back into the streets, not having a good quality life. These are the things that they argue about, not ever being even forgiven for their crimes. The rights of prisoners have been making a lot of headlines, thus keeping the story alive, and a lot of prisoners are very, very, very upfront about their sexual life, and that's what's keeping these stories in this week, because there's some stories that could turn some heads that I'm going to get to shortly. Well, that's why story number 1 made it this week, because prisoners need love too. We all need love. And if you can't afford the booty, some people do some very, very scary things to get it. And that's what's scary about these stories this week. Story number 2. Are the cancel culture stories worth reading? Talking about the booty, the shaking, the tightness, the design, the stuff we wear, the stuff we do when we're not married, the stuff we engage in. Talking about culture. Dave Chappelle is just one of many entertainers trying to protect free speech. His show was canceled because he was talking about something sexual and offended some sexual people who been a lot of headlines. Now, there are so many different aspects surrounding the cancel culture movement, but little still remains known about the actual goal. So we'll probably see more stories like this going on. Now, the more this story evolves, the more America will have to deal with a number of key issues surrounding such a movement in a country that promotes freedom and justice for all. It is getting very, very complicated out there, and that's why we're constantly talking about the booty, the booty, the booty. That's why story number 2 made it. There's one story after this that I'm warning you could get explicit, but we'll keep it as PG as possible. Story number 2, that's why I made it this week. The movie. Story number 3. How did homosexuals, transgenders, and heterosexual stories get in the top 8? I'm going to tell you why. After an 80-year-old woman made recent headlines for being banned from her local YMCA for demanding that a transgender employee be removed from the locker room for watching 2 girls use the bathroom. Now, the story highlights the continued craziness surrounding homosexuality, transgender, and heterosexual stories. Most people are fed up due to the normalcy and the continued infringement on people's beliefs. Ill-normalcy. That means that things are not normal. In these stories, this is not normal. When you have somebody who claims to be male or could claim to be female getting dressed in a female locker room, or having female and males go into the same bathroom. Folks, this is scary stuff. It is happening. That's why story number 3 popped in this week. The booty is causing a lot of problems. Just yesterday we were hunting rabbit. Now we're hunting booty. Story number 3, big headline. Story number 4, defining the new difference between poor and toxic people. California's homeless problem is seeping into a debate that people are having about the poor and toxic, and how toxic the corrupt and how toxic and corrupt some individuals posing as poor people have become. So toxic, corrupt, this is all starting to engage in the poor. Now, drug use is rampant, and many other factors are made in consideration as the world grapples with the increase in poverty and homelessness. This is all the stuff that's happening on the poor stage. Now, a new housing proposal in Los Angeles to combat homelessness has gained opposition from the hotel industry after a proposal to populate vacant hotel rooms with homeless people made headlines. Because of the state that homeless people are in, they're gaining some opposition. The story is still developing, and that's why I made this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brother West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. This week I'm shouting out all the businesses out there. Being a business owner myself, that is a tough job because you cannot possibly please everybody. Sometimes customers get irate. They start doing things, calling you names, smacking you in the face, telling about your mama, telling about your daddy, telling you who you want to be, who you can't be. And on top of that, they want a service, and sometimes they don't come back. Being a business owner is very, very tough, folks. And if you do anything, have sympathy for people who are trying to support themselves. Me and my sister went out to a mall. We got this little topic in was we were out at the mall, and there was a young girl. She was starting her own brand of clothing, and we saw her out there selling, and she was so brave. You know, she was real brave and ambitious. She pulled us to the side. She says, "I have these special items that we're branding with our brand on it, and if you want to buy them, you're more than welcome to." Then we looked at the price. We said, "Damn! $60 for a pair of shorts? $70 for a jacket? Girl, you just starting out. Why is it so expensive? Oh, hell no. Oh, my goodness." That's a little advice out there. If you're starting out, you need a little friendly advice. Start out a little cheap and then go a little high, because demand is low at first. But when demand is high, that's when you pump up the price, baby. Ooh. Economics is starting to kick in those classes. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Why the war stories should have your attention. With Russia enduring over 80,000 casualties, the war stories continue to mount. Israel is also in the spotlight after 4 or so children were killed in an attack on Gaza. Over 200 or so people have been wounded in the attack, leaving more and more people pleading for an end to continued escalation of the war stories. Now the fighting in Israel is over an offshore gas dispute. Israel and Lebanon have been in a state of war for over 70 years. That's important to note. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. The wealth gap is the new hit gem. Gem as in shiny gem. U.S. billionaires saw their wealth increase by more than 1.7 trillion, while the poor got poorer. That's an increase of 60%. The article published by CNN Business goes on to talk about how America's richest people are spending their money. The center focus is on Congress to get the rich to account for the woes of the middle class and the poor by the woes of the middle class and the poor by pointing out unusually bad spending habits, and on top of that, by pointing out usually bad spending by people who are pretty rich, the ultra wealthy. So not only are they pointing out bad spending habits by the poor and the middle class, but by the rich, how they just waste money. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week, because if they could be wasting that money, they could be putting it back in the poor and the middle class pocket. That's why it made it this week. I made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headline and developing news story that made it this week. If you ain't gonna do nothing else, you gonna get something out of this program. And as a guarantee, you gonna get informed. You gonna get a little bit of education. You gonna get some stories. That's a good deal. Ooh. Being down south for a few weeks, I had to get that out. I just see so much southern hospitality, so southern accents. I had to get that out. So I just had to get it. You gonna get a good deal. That's what's up. Story number 7. The death of children has been in consistent headlines. 2 children fatally shot in incidents involving the accidental firing of guns, and a double shooting in D.C. injures a 3-year-old and a 13-year-old boy. That's what got the story in. And such stories are keeping the attention on children and how they're getting caught up in the middle of gun-related incidents and violent crimes. This is the second week in a row that child-related tragedies have made the news and been in the headlines. So that's not good, and that's why I made it to the top 2 this week, because I believe the children are our future. Teach them well, then let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. Big. Story number 8 at the top. International headline and developing news story that made this week. I'm doing it for you, for the greater good of the public. I'm informing myself every week, struggling, and breezing at times through stories. Some stories are hard, some stories are easy, some stories are good, some stories are bad, but I'm doing it all in one 28-minute program just for you. Story number 8, the climate tax and healthcare package got through the Senate. How did it get through the Senate? It got through the Senate. Biden seems to be following through with his plans to go after the rich, the ultra rich. If his plan will work is yet to be determined. So far, his major spending plan, aka the Inflation Reduction Act, has made it through the Senate. Now, the act includes some big spending and clean energy proposals, and it also includes ways to reduce prescription drug prices and a tax overhaul that will ensure corporations pay income taxes. Biden's spending plans are out of favor with many Republicans, as many see the president once again trying to play the hero in what many feel will eventually break the bank in the long run. But his plan does have some favorites when it comes to community activists trying to see a pathway for people who are less fortunate. So there's a seesaw battle going on in story number 8. That's why I made it to the top this week, because it all has to do with economics, money, inflation, all that stuff, putting money back into the economy, putting money back into people's pockets, spreading the wealth. I'm sure you get the picture. Somebody's trying, so we'll see how this turns out. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the man in the middle, the mediator. If you want to show some support here at Methane, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. I am out here getting ready to go watch the movie premiere, so I hope you get a chance to come check us out. We're at the Holiday Inn in Boardman from 6 to 9 p.m. today if you're in the area. And if you want to stop by the store someday just to show us some love, to support the arts, 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio. So we'll be at the Holiday Inn today showing a premiere, and we'll be at the store on the weekdays from 10 to 6 p.m. if you want to swing by. Well, folks, that's it. I'm out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the media. Me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.